July 1st, 1863. The small, quiet town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, decided the fate of a divided nation. Within 3 days, more than 50,000 men will lie dead, wounded, or missing, their blood soaking into the rolling green hills of a countryside that never asked to be a battlefield. This is the story of Gettysburg, the turning point that decided America's destiny. The Union and the Confederacy were locked in a brutal struggle that had already consumed the lives of over 200,000 soldiers. Towns were shattered, families torn apart, and the dream of a unified nation seemed to be slipping away. In the South, General Robert E. Lee had become a legend, a man revered by his soldiers, respected even by the Union Army of the Potomac was in disarray. Its commander, General Joseph Hooker, had been humiliated at Chancellorsville and was replaced just 3 days before the battle by a quiet, cautious man named George Gordon Meade. Meade was no flamboyant hero. He was analytical, disciplined, and respected by his peers, but completely untested in command at such a scale. As Lee's troops moved deeper into Pennsylvania, the North trembled. For the first time, Confederate soldiers roamed freely in Union territory, seizing livestock, demanding supplies, and terrifying civilians who had never seen war so close. The roads were filled with frightened refugees, their wagons creaking under the weight of hastily gathered possessions. But amidst the chaos, 2 great armies began to converge, almost by accident, toward a modest crossroads town known as Gettysburg. The morning of July 1st, 1863, dawned warm and clear. Outside Gettysburg, Confederate troops under General Henry Heath advanced toward the town, searching for shoes rumored to be stored there. What they found instead were Union cavalry, led by the formidable General John Buford. Buford, a professional soldier with a keen tactical mind, immediately recognized the terrain's importance. Gettysburg was surrounded by a series of gentle ridges, natural defensive positions. He resolved to hold those ridges long enough for Union reinforcements to arrive. As Confederate lines appeared on the horizon, Buford's cavalry dismounted and formed a thin blue line. They fought fiercely throughout the morning, their breech-loading carbines cracking in steady rhythm. By midday, the 1st Major Union Infantry Corps arrived under General John Reynolds, one of the Army's finest officers. Reynolds quickly threw his men into battle to support Buford. But within minutes of arriving, Reynolds was struck by a bullet through the neck. He fell from his horse, dead. His death was a devastating blow, yet his men held firm. Through the heat of the afternoon, the fields north and west of Gettysburg became a killing ground. Musket volleys and artillery shells tore through ranks on both sides. Civilians cowered in their homes as the thunder of battle rolled across the valley. But by late afternoon, Confederate numbers began to tell. Union lines bent and then broke. Thousands of Northern soldiers streamed back through the streets of Gettysburg, pursued by the Confederates. When the fighting stopped that evening, Lee's army held the town. The Union forces, battered and bleeding, retreated to the high ground south of Gettysburg, to Cemetery Hill, Culp's Hill, and a long ridge running south known as Cemetery Ridge.
Meade had found his ground, and he intended to hold it. The Union line on Cemetery Ridge was strong, but not invincible. Lee believed he could break either flank and the Union army would collapse. He ordered a massive assault on the Union left. The attack would fall on places whose names would be etched into American memory: the wheat field, the peach orchard, and Little Round Top. At 4 p.m., the Confederate assault began. Waves of gray-clad soldiers surged forward under blistering artillery fire. Cannonballs tore through trees and bodies alike. The air was thick with smoke and screams. On the far left, at a rocky hill called Little Round Top, a desperate struggle unfolded. Union Colonel Joshua Lawrence Chamberlain, a former college professor from Maine, commanded a thin line of